Hey, what's going on, guys? Waypoint Cafe, Eric Cruz, Philip Ransbottom, right here live. We're going to be talking about some controversial stuff with a nice little snack of
Oh, it's really.
of
I mean, I guess your email distribution considered it controversial, but
yeah.
it's kind of just a normal conversation. But
Well, I think
so
it's important to have that conversation of well, we're having a little, you're having a little snack with a smoothie, and we're going to be talking about how we became, or some people became, conservative. Very controversial topic, I guess, these days.
yeah, I stopped for a sec. I'm gonna finish making my smoothie. Anybody out there, if you don't have a Nutri Bullet or something similar, get yourself a Nutri Bullet. Is by far the best simple tool. It's like whatever, like $89 now. I've used it hundreds of times. But just for blending up a little protein shake with some strawberry, a little banana, a little ice water. It's actually kind of a delicious little snack. So I'm gonna kill the mic before I turn this on now. Okay. Blast you out. But long story short is, obviously you know who I'm flying out on Saturday, so in
Saturday,
like
yeah.
6 days. Which means this week I didn't really go grocery shopping. I got a few snacks. I got some bananas, a couple of apples and stuff, and then I'll just fend for myself during the week rather than buying some extra and then having to throw some stuff out at the end of the week. So
Yeah, that makes sense. I do the exact same thing for long periods of travel. The last thing that you want, at the house or apartment or whatever, is having
well,
food that'll go bad.
Thursday night I'll probably go see somebody. Like Thursday night I'll probably go see my parents again and stuff. Maybe on Friday night I go see somebody else just to say. Which means that's another two dinners. What am I going to just go to the grocery store and buy enough for like 2 days? At that point, it's just not even worth it. So I just didn't even go this weekend.
Yeah. And for anyone that's watching right now, just to let you know, Cruz is actually going to be heading out to Denver this Saturday. So, as a follow up from the previous videos that we had, with doing the whole one way ticket thing, he's on his way. So I came back to the U.S. and he's leaving another part. He's leaving to go out to another part, and he's obviously shut off the volume there in regards to making the smoothie. Doesn't want to blow out your ears.
Yeah, I killed you. Didn't I muted that right? You didn't hear that.
No, I didn't hear that at all. I was
So
actually
it's done.
I was
It's
actually
good. A
explaining
little
it to the.
smoothie. Maybe like 350 calories. Good little snack and delicious. This is probably one of the last times you see me cooking for a little bit. We'll see. See how I figure it out at the hostel. So the hostel still definitely has like its kitchen and stuff open from the last that I checked. So that's good. I just got to figure out what I'm going to use. I'm going to use that just the snacks. If I eat out, I know I'll be definitely for the first few days when I get there. Like I'll absolutely be eating out at night. Like I'm going to want to go around the city and check out
Oh yeah, yeah,
different
for
places.
sure.
That's guaranteed, right? Like when you land in a new place, like you're just going around at least for the first like 3-4 days just in the city, just like figuring out where there are a few things are. Like
Yeah,
so I land on Saturday, have Sunday. Saturday I probably won't go around too much as far as like getting stuff done. Probably just try and get there, get a feel for the area and stuff. And then Sunday I'll probably try and sneak out to some type of like a grocery store or something like along those lines just to get like little snacks so I can bring them back, just little bars and different things like that to get myself through the day.
yeah,
And then I'll be eating out like my one meal of the day, whether it's like a late lunch, early dinner kind of thing or something. But yeah, hit up the grocery store, get some whatever, bananas, some apples, throw them in the kitchen or the fridge and everything there, and have that stuff.
yeah. Well, I think it's really good too, just to get a perspective outside the area that we live in, just to see how businesses are running. Like for instance, I went to Ying's Dynasty, which is not far from here. It's about a mile, to pick up some Chinese food in, and I was talking to the worker there.
I haven't had good Chinese food since the COVID kicked in. I'm dying.
Oh no, it was actually the Chinese food in Ecuador is really good. But it's a different
Really?
flavor. Yeah, it's really good. It's
Yeah, well, it's different. Yeah.
The only thing that I would say that I missed was having some spicy food. You know, having a little. It's not as common to have a lot of spices in the dishes there. So even if you get like something that's spicy, it's very mild. Uh,
Well, I mean, you said it was, it's kind of funny. Like, all right, so everybody, if you go super stereotypical, you think of like South America and you think of like, oh, just like immediate, like, oh, spicy food, a lot of flavor, right? Like, if you're just going like a stereotypical swath across the whole board.
yeah.
But you're saying Ecuador is like kind of bland.
No, it's
Like, they
not.
don't,
It's not that it's bland. It's that they don't use a lot of. They use a lot of spices, but they don't use a lot of heat. So you're not gonna
okay.
find. Yeah, you're not gonna find like um, a lot of chilies or pepper in their dishes. Like they'll use salt, or, they use a lot of cilantro and things like that. Very flavorful, just not spicy. That's the only my only issue is like, oh, I like a little bit of heat, even if it hurts
Little
just a little bit. Nothing like ghost peppers, but a little bit of heat.
sense.
Oh, so I wanted to
How's the flight back? What'd you do? So obviously you got back a few days ago. But so I'm jumping. I haven't jumped on an airplane since this. Just like I would say, what 98% of the population has not jumped on an airplane since this began. Well, what's it like going to the airport and stuff right now? Like, what am
okay.
I expecting?
All right. Well, at least from Ecuador, there was actually a lot of people that were quarantined in Ecuador because of the whole COVID thing. So when you're getting through customs, you have to talk to the officer there. All you hear is the conversations like, oh, what uh, why are you back in why are you back in the U.S. and why are you back for so long? It's like, oh, the COVID thing. Like the guy ahead of me was like,
Why are
oh,
you 4 months over your visa?
yeah.
Like,
Well, the great thing is customs in Ecuador. They were totally understandable. It was a little bit informal about it, but everyone that I spoke with, they're like, oh, there's no problem because we understand what happened with getting stuck in Ecuador for 4 months or 3 months.
yeah. But not everybody. Like, I'm assuming not every U.S. customs officer was familiar with the fact that, oh, Ecuador locked down like state to state travel and like you could not get anywhere or get out. Like, it wasn't an option.
Well, I think all the customs officers were encountering the same thing at the airport. Like that's my assumption because the officer asked me, "Oh, how long were you in Ecuador for?" I was like, "Oh, I was there since December 31st." And he starts laughing, and he's like, "Oh, so why'd you stay there so long?" Oh, because of the whole COVID thing. I was like, "All right, all right, good. See you later." And that was it.
Yeah.
He's just
Well, yeah, of course. Like, it's like I didn't just pick to stay there. I mean, I guess yeah, I could have been there for some type of suspicious reason, but right now it's absolute just free pass. Like
yeah, yeah.
this.
So everyone had like a reasonable sense of humor about it. But here's the crazy thing, right? So the airport in Guayaquil has maybe a handful of flights during the course of the day, so it's pretty empty. And the officials I guess in any airport is enforcing social distancing, right? So you have to be within like 6 feet away. So here's the crazy thing: um, you're 6 feet away from people. The problem is there's only one flight, so there's two. We'll say 200 people waiting in line, right? All practicing social distancing at the airport, right?
So it's like
I
12. It's like 1,200 feet.
Yeah, we get to the door, um, into the airplane, and I'm like,
Oh shit!
and
That's
I'm
secure. Oh, sorry.
I'm trying to stay a relative distance from the person in front
Yeah,
of me,
yeah, a couple
and
feet or whatever.
and then I stop, and I start cracking up, and you know what I realize I'm like, what is the point of this social distancing thing? We're gonna be sitting right next to each other in a closed container flying in the air. I was like, there's absolutely no point of this whole social distancing thing in the airport.
Not at an airport. I mean, obviously, me. I'm a little more on the let everybody's going to get this eventually. let's just go about it practically and do what we can. But at an airport, you're right, that's even more insane. Like every single person is about to just be jammed in recycled air.
Yeah.
For anywhere from 2 to 7 hours.
Yeah.
Trust me, the airport that's not going to be the issue.
Yeah.
Like that's not going to be where you get it from.
So the interesting part too is that the airlines require you to wear the mask as a, like a respect, which makes sense.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So that's like the only thing. So there's a possibility that they might revoke, or not allow someone to fly if they don't have their mask. So they say it right in the beginning. But I just found it kind of funny, like, oh, social distancing, no social distancing. So, take it for what it is. And Miami, the airport, packed.
Yeah.
There is a lot of people traveling, especially in the U.S. And I guarantee it's the simple fact that flights are super cheap. People are out and about.
I know some people that are traveling, about to travel, or have traveled. Not a lot, but I know some. Some that have gone down to Florida, like a secondary relation. They're getting ready to like sell their place here because both of them got like full remote work, and they were like, "Yeah, we're going to go down to Florida." So they went down for a few weeks to kind of check it out, and then they're going to get like a 6-month Airbnb kind of rental thing down there as they look for a place down there.
Nice.
But they've been back and forth. Another buddy of mine, they were supposed to go to Austin, but they canceled that one because there's just nothing open there. But they're supposed to go to Vegas September, I think. I think they're keeping that one. Obviously, I'm flying out. You just got back. You know what? Now that I think about it, that's about it. Not a lot of people, actually. Not a lot of people.
But even then, like I said, I was actually surprised. I thought there was going to be less people out, but there was, dude, the lines to get into like the security area, huge in Miami, huge. I mean, part of it too is like where their connecting flights are and where the gates are to the other flights. But it was really surprising how many people are out in Miami.
How packed that place was, yeah.
So
damn.
So at least that way, it's showing that people are, people are wearing masks. But generally,
yeah, of course.
I felt like people were happy, not too worried about other people, because it's just one of those things, right? With the whole COVID thing, everyone just assumes the risk. Like you go to travel, you assume the risk, but not that bad. Not as bad as anticipated.
No, and I mean, I want to get off. I want to get off of the COVID thing in a second because I just can't. I can't do it anymore. But like you saw the headline, like whatever, Florida and Texas cases are spiking. They're spiking. Look at the 20 to the 35-year-old bracket. They're spiking up. Blah blah blah. It's not spiking up. Deaths. Yeah, there was some people in the ICU. Yes, but deaths really didn't spike up. Basically, everybody was pretty much fine.
Well, it's also how they're setting up the record of the COVID cases. So again, it's like I was telling you before, who do you believe? How do you are the experts? I mean, some of the experts keep changing some of the stuff. So how do you gauge what's right and wrong?
You don't. They move the goalposts all the time.
Yeah. Like they move it just forward, back, left, right.
No. Yeah. Like, no, I got it across the goal. Like, no, you didn't. It's another like 20 yards that way. Like, what? You can't just change how you want. I told you about the. Did I tell you about the negative?
The negative.
Oh, when Massachusetts had 0 cases.
No.
Oh yeah, Massachusetts had 0 cases one day last week or the week before. You know why? Because they were removing all of the double counted cases and they were actually negative, and they can't report a negative, so they just put 0.
Oh, it it
Yeah.
it just sounds way too fishy. Like you remember what I was telling you before. Like,
I mean, the second you have that happen, I mean, your credibility is like you lost at least one notch on your credibility. Like, come on.
oh, you're being modest. At least one notch.
I'm being middle of the road where I usually
Yeah,
tend to hang. I get it. Sure, be safe, but let's also be, kind of reasonable about this. It's not the zombie apocalypse,
yeah.
for the love of God. It's not. So, but now good to have you back, Kuya. We'll have to try and I'm here for a few more days. I'll have to try and swing down and say hi before I head out.
Yeah.
Um,
Let's see if we can get something going. If you're
yeah,
okay with the whole safety thing, I mean,
yeah. I don't think you're gonna kill me. I don't think that's the way that I go. Yeah, maybe Tuesday or Wednesday or something. Try and swing down Thursday, maybe one of those days, one of those next couple of days, something. I'll definitely totally swing down. We can, yeah, catch up real quick and stuff. That'd be cool.
yeah,
But
grab some grub or something.
oh yeah, definitely. So yeah, so I guess the whole conversation today. So I've been, obviously always reading and everything and doing a lot, and actually just like recently just been trying to watch more and read more and educate myself because the more I watch and read about different topics about what's going on nowadays, the more I realize, like, I actually don't. The more I realize I don't know.
Mm.
Like the more I realize I don't know about actual like historical dates and events and everything. And I know a bit, and I'm learning more every day. But it's surprising how much you don't know about the ins and outs of the government, specific dates, specific events that have happened over the course of the past, 50, 100, 150 years. And it's a ton of time, but it's so fundamentally important, I feel, to really know those things that I should know them, that I'm like, I hate, it's kind of, and I feel like a lot of people are this way. A lot of people know less than I do. But if it's under the same line of like they're actually like embarrassed to say it, because you don't want to come across like an idiot, when it's things that you should know, really, really fundamentally know about your country, the way things work, the way things that have happened, whether in obviously specific things like the long stretch of exact dates and course of events for like the civil rights movement and everything, which is of course a huge topic nowadays, or
Mm.
specifically right now. Um, I don't know anywhere near as much as I should at all. Like there's a lot of times I'm watching and learning and I'm gonna do better. Then I'm like, wow, I'm a dummy. Like you should really like you should know more. Um, so definitely gonna be working on that because you just have to know it. I don't know. Maybe maybe it's not for everybody. Maybe people don't feel the same way. But I do, especially given some of the stuff that we talk about and everything. I want to come from a place of knowledge. I want my decisions and my views and everything to be based and steeped in actual fact from course of events, knowing how events happened, um, to make my decisions on. I don't want it based off of sensationalized BS headlines. Like that's not how I want to make my decisions about anything.
Yeah, and I think, well, I think you pointed out an important thing too. It's like history is so vast. So whether you're making that conscious decision today to you know um, educate yourself more and things like that. That's a better thing to do than just to be like, to be that person that goes, oh, they know everything. Because the best thing, at, a colleague of mine from a long time ago, well, not too long ago, described a good saying was, we have to know what we don't know, and that's okay not to know. Um, and like I said, with something like history, it's so vast. You can just look at the course of the year and how many books were published in the course of the year. So imagine going back in time each year, where there's going to be a lot of events that happen. I mean, just in 2020 alone, how many events have occurred just in the U.S. And that the world is a big place, so it's very difficult you know come down um, to come down on oneself and be like, oh, I wish I knew more of this stuff. And it's like, you only know what we know, but we can only continue to move forward. You know what I mean? And by doing that, like, taking action, and in regards to like the whole conservative part, right? Because that's the point that we're coming across here, is that um, it's almost, you get more appreciation from what went on in the past and understand kind of some of the fundamentals of government, or even just countries themselves. You know, I mean, like countries, 100 years ago was different from they are today. 100 years from that, they were completely different. So a lot of things have happened over the course of 100 years, and the pace that the world is moving now, you know, a million things, happen.
5 years ago is not now the
Yeah.
way things are going right. So,
So
and then I guess that's the kind of the lead in of the fact of like that's kind of how I started to change. Is really the more I've read, the more I've listened to different arguments and different sides and different debates and different viewpoints. As I've gotten older, that's actually how I've become more and more conservative and gotten to the point of where I am right now. It's actually been just through learning and listening and more. And I know nothing. I mean, maybe the more I learn, maybe who knows? Maybe I start to shift back to the side. I don't know, but I do know that I need to learn more. I need to read more, understand more. But the more that I have continued to do that, the more I have shifted away from, kind of my younger self. Because I mean, let's be serious. If you ask anybody, generally speaking, we're going to go broad brush here because I don't feel like dealing with exact percentages, and I don't have them anyways right now. But the general person that comes out of high school and goes through college, for the most part, is going to be a liberal person, correct?
yeah,
Everybody,
that's usually the
we
case.
feel comfortable. We feel comfortable with that broad swath, that broad brush. Yes, right.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's how I felt. That's how I was. I mean, if I was going really stereotypical, you walk out of like high school or college, and you just say, "Bro," you say liberal, Democrat, conservative, Republican, like, oh, yep, liberals, like, yeah, we're good. We want like good stuff for good people, and Republican conservatives, they kind of jerks and kind of racist, right? That's like the super stereotypical thing that you have from early coming out.
Yeah.
And those two broad brush strokes are possibly two of the dumbest and most divisive things that could be out there right now. Like those two stereotypes right there cause so many issues across so many different areas right now. Um, it's really, really unfortunate that is kind of the general feeling. And I mean, that's everybody's general feeling, that before you get fully informed. I mean, how often, I mean, let's be, how many often are you going to hear liberals getting called racist? I mean, they will once in a while, you get your Jimmy Fallon with his blackface. Did he get called racist? No, he gave his little apologetic sort of crying speech, and they kind of swept it under the rug. You'd Tina Fey, kind of, sort of, but then swept it under the rug because she's a good liberal. And then you got a few others, but you have people that just ask questions. Just ask a question that are a bit more of a conservative view, and instantly racist, white supremacist, done, ding, check mark. Yep, that's you. Like, what? Like, what? Where did that come from?
Yeah.
First of all, you didn't even. Could just be a question. You don't even check the person. This could be, this could be a black person. This could be an Asian person. This could be an Indian. You don't even, like, it's just immediate. Ding, done. Yep, that's what they are. I mean, and you can just go by some of the videos of some of the people screaming at black officers with some very inappropriate things and what they'd say to them and call them and everything. unbelievable, some of those things right now. Um, I felt it was very interesting, one of the statistics last week of where there was more shootings than COVID deaths in New York City in a day.
Well, they had that situation in Chicago. It was the weekend of Father's Day that there was this heavy shooting. A lot of people died, but very marginalized in the whole story aspect of things. So,
Very much.
it's how people get notoriety and how it's used, and you know it's a very kind of fascinating thing. And I feel like with so I want to go back to what you talked about with, as you started learning more. um for me, it really came down to, I wanted to challenge my own thoughts. I wanted to challenge my own beliefs. And I think, uh I'm defining it differently, but it sounds like it was the exact same thing that you came across, of like, oh, I want to know, like, I want to know if, like, what I believe is actually true, or is there like another perspective on this. And then as I started learning more, and I don't know a lot. It's just one of those, I try to learn every day, and then come to realize, like, oh, you know what, maybe I am more, conservative leaning. Like, oh, for me, it's like the general premise is like, you work hard towards things, and then, um you know and you succeed. Less government intervention. Simple things like that. I was like, what, I've been working. I was younger. I was thinking about stuff like, oh man, I've been busting my butt, working 3 or 4 jobs, working 7 days a week for God knows how long. And then at the same time, with the little time that I had, I was looking at, like, what my political views were. And then at that point, I was like, wow, I thought that this concept was this, but it was actually this other thing. And then as it continued onward, it was like it kept going in the same manner. And then I actually even had conversations with family, and saying that I made this conscious decision of, like, oh, after doing research and after coming across certain things, I feel like my values come more towards this area, you know. So I'd like to think of it that, like, I'm fiscally conservative, but I'm socially liberal. Like, I don't, if someone, wants to love someone of their own gender, that's fine. To me, it's like, why should the government even get a hold of that?
Yeah.
Like,
Who
why should they
cares?
even get involved? They're not
That's
they're not standing in the bedroom. You know what I mean? So
yeah. It's the who cares about that?
yeah, it's, and you know I don't like the whole thing with, why does the government need to get involved if someone wants to be who they are. If someone wants, like, you have the people that tattoo themselves, and they got like they surgically place, like, sharp teeth and things because they want to be a cat. I think it's different, but more power to them. They can do it, you know.
There's only for that one, for like, so you want those surgical alters. The only thing that I'm against on that one is if somehow, some way, my tax money went towards that because of whatever, pick a reason.
Well, well,
Like if
well,
my tax dollars somehow ended up helping that, I'd say, whoa, 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 no, no, no. You have a right to be okay. You have a right to be supported. You don't. You don't have a right to be a cat person.
yeah,
That's that's where we're gonna draw the line on that.
yeah,
Well,
it's and I think maybe sometimes, like, the whole conservative ideal might be considered insensitive, but where do lines get drawn? Where does the importance of the country that someone lives in, you know not hold true for somebody? Those are the types of things because I was like I've told you before, like I wasn't born in the U.S. I can tell you right now, life would be a lot different if I grew up in the Philippines. Um, you know what I mean? And there's to me, especially since we're coming from July 4th, so happy July 4th or belated July 4th. But let's be
Right.
realistic here. The
Still,
U.S.
it's still
let
okay to celebrate America. America
yeah,
is still the best country,
yeah,
even though we have problems, a whole bunch of problems. I mean,
it's first world
when there's an
problem.
issue, yeah, when there's an issue, who does everybody come looking for? Not Switzerland, not Italy, not France, none of those other ones. It's always the U.S. So, I mean, we have issues, but must be doing something okay, right?
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that I don't like. That people from within are trying to I don't want to say desecrate, but just to say that, oh, the U.S. is such a bad place. It's like that, because of so is in office, or the U.S. is such a bad place. It's like if you want to go to a bad place in this world, you can, and it's definitely not going to be safe. You're
No. I have some of them on my list of places I want to actually visit. That you go there, and I'd be like, I'm going to go if I do get a chance to. I will go there, and I mean, I'm going to go there, and you're going to go there with a bit of caution. Here's a big one that tons of people have on their list that they probably want to see. How many of you out there want to go see the Gaza Strip and see the Great Pyramids? Bet a lot of people want to go see those. They're amazing. They're all totally on my list. Egypt isn't necessarily the safest of places to travel.
Mm.
You don't want to go. You don't want to go there, all just willy nilly running around. You either want to do it smart, be with a tour group. You don't. It's not the just safest of places for you to casually go around and just do whatever you want to do. That's for sure.
Yeah. There's places in this world where you can't speak against the government. You can't have an opinion about certain things. You know, so with the U.S. just being able to speak out those liberties, I think it is something that I think a lot of people take for granted. Um, and then if you even consider like you were saying before with the U.S. contributions around the world. I mean, if you look at just look at just in general tech companies. If you just think of Facebook and Google, they're
We have
all
90. What is it? We have 90 of the top 100 companies in the entire world are U.S.
yeah, and you know that says something. That says something about some of the cultural aspects that makes America so great. You know, and I think it's we have to honor the past, whether it's sad or it hurts us, to think about it. But we have to honor the past that gave us the ability to do these certain things today. I think that's why for me I lean more towards a conservative view because, like, yeah, I'm for less government intervention, but I'm very full aware and very very thankful that the things that I do and are able to do has been not only from family and friends for sure, but also the country that we live in. I mean, I was in Ecuador for 6 months, and I'll tell you what, it's different. There's a lot of things that are different.
The
It
second you landed in the U.S., like you knew you were in the U.S.
Yeah, it's
Like it's just different. It's not a bad way. Like I plan on like other places are great and everything, but it's just different. The United States of America, the USA, citizens of the USA, for the most part, and we do need to work towards getting towards the point where it is for every single one. Basically, have it the best and easiest that they could have ever had, it in the history of mankind right now.
yeah.
right? Like there's no, they haven't had it better or easier ever than it is right now.
Yeah, and I really think I think the problem is just first world problems. You know what I mean?
And I
There's
still think, yeah, I still
is
think it should be better. Not
yeah
to cut you off, and I still think it should be better. And there is problems, and they can get better. But it is okay to, and I don't, I understand the concept of people how they want to challenge it, and it's a great concept, and they should. You should always challenge it. But the concept of where they actually kind of like hate the U.S. a bit sometimes, like I don't, I tried to, I just don't understand it. Right? I don't, and I don't think they're like wrong or coming from a place of like, I don't think these, I don't think people are really coming from a place of bad intentions. I think they believe and do and want to actually do things that they believe are good for absolute majority. It doesn't register in my brain like that concept. Like I just don't feel that way. And it's tough for me to understand.
yeah. So the part that kind of rubs me the wrong way too is kind of this passive passive responsibility towards stuff. Like, oh, you know what? Let's so similar to what we're saying, kind of generally speaking here. So the approach a lot of times being of being liberal is, oh, you know, let the government take care of it. Let the government take care of it. So the irony of the whole thing is, oh, let the government take care of it, but they don't trust the government now. So why would the implementation of you know what I mean? Um like more regulations? Like, do we really need more regulations on stuff? You know?
Oh, I don't believe that the government's going to use my money to the best of their abilities at all. There's way too much overhead and spending and waste. Like I would much rather keep my money and put it to use in factors for local restaurants or this. I would much rather have my money to do those things with it.
Yeah, exactly. That's the weird thing. It's like once you pay the tax man,
It's gone.
it's gone.
You have no sense. I know you technically have a vote, but like in the grand scheme of things, it's gone. Okay, just kiss it goodbye. It's it's not coming back.
So yeah, if anyone's in the audience there who's ever done, you know, your own taxes and you know, is especially if you've ever worked with like capital gains and all that kind of stuff with stocks or property, you know, it it starts to get a little bit more complex throughout. So you'll start to understand a little bit more why people try to avoid the taxes. Um, so that's one of those things. That's one of those things that you know like gaining more experience like over the course of the years. If you first you know if you always had someone doing your taxes, not that it's wrong, but you get familiarized a little bit more about how some of the systems work. And I think you know it's good at least to do it once or twice. I mean, it's only once or twice a year that you got to do this kind of thing, but you know it's a good way to gain some experience with oh like where these taxes are going. Did you know that you can voluntarily pay taxes? So any people out there who are interested in having the government take more money away from you, you know that you can volunteer to pay more money. You know
You
that
can give it to them.
you can do it.
They won't give it back.
They they won't give it back. So um so you know there's all these different options and ways that you know people can do stuff in the US, and there's a lot of opportunity in the US, and in that way that's what's like I said, even more now since you know I feel like that that some certain uh, fundamental fundamental values are being challenged today in society, and it's specifically attacking the conservative community or the conservative people that are out there, and it's, I don't think that everyone's, strictly leaning one way. Total, you might have the extremes of the left or the right or wherever direction people go, but a lot of what I've encountered is a lot of people kind of just fall into the middle, right? And one of the great things is that everyone gets to decide what, decide the things that they want to focus on. And I think some of that distinction is being lost with what's going on right now in society. That's just my honest opinion and observation is that um, people think it's like, oh, it's either right or left, but in actuality, it's a lot of it is like, if we're talking like political parties, which one is going to preserve some of these values that everyone holds, and frankly, for me, from the time that I spent, doing my research and stuff, is like, oh, this is the one that stands out to me as part of my core values are, that leans more towards the conservative, and even more so now. But I feel like now it's like, oh, if someone claims that they're conservative, it's you're automatically an evil person. It's like, why? What, talk to me, tell me why you feel that way. And that's,
I don't know.
I think that's
I
part of
do
the issue.
I do feel like when I voice how I feel about certain things or talk about it, I immediately and I just want to have like just a discussion about stuff. Like me and you, I mean, we sit here and talk about stuff all the time. We want to have just good, like strong debates about things. I feel like just coming out with like immediately it's gonna be like you're a racist, you're a bigot, you're this, you're that, like, okay, sure, that's the way you feel. I mean, you don't have anything to back it up with, but immediately just goes to that. That's the way I feel. And they're winning. Not that it's it's a competition, but it is a little bit. Like they are winning the media war. And I don't know, is it because they generally the media is controlled more liberal, or that there aren't actually like a lot of good, strong conservative voices that aren't scared. So many of them back down. So many of them don't stand and actually fight. The second that the heat starts coming for them for one little incident, which may or may not even really be something of note, immediate fold, apology. And once you start apologizing, that's it. Blood's in the water. You're dead. You're done. They're all coming for you. You're never recovering.
Well, yeah, I mean, the minute that it's exposed that there's conservative views coming out, it's like all of a sudden it's public enemy number one very quickly. It's just having like a quick discussion with certain friends. I mean, you and I disagree with certain stuff, but I'm not at your throat trying to convince you. Like I'm gonna try to convince you on like what I perceive sometimes with stuff, but I'm gonna respect your own view. I'm gonna respect that, like, oh, this guy did his homework. This guy, knew a lot of stuff. I can't. It's very difficult for me to take someone serious when their default answer is racist. I don't know what I'm talking about, or I'm getting yelled at. Like, how do you? I want to learn. I tell you a bunch of times. I've told other people that I have similar political views with. I'm like, I wish that I could talk with someone that knew about the content that they were speaking about, or at least had interest of it, that they would put some time into it, because I want to learn. I want to learn as a person that maybe, like maybe I'm choosing some of the wrong things here, but you know, I've investigated, like I've gone out of my way to investigate articles that were written by, like the mainstream media, and there's some very misleading information in the headline, in the whole, in the whole articles. And I'm not saying that it just happens with liberal media. I'm saying that even on the conservative side, it's targeted towards, their base audience. So what ends up happening is, everyone's in their echo chamber of information. And um so one of the things that I noticed is like, oh, I don't want to continuously feed my, I want to feed the things that I'm interested in, but at the same time, I also want to see what other perspectives are out there. I can't just, and the problem is with technology, it funnels all the things that we're interested even more. So it magnifies some of our beliefs, even if some of it's based on falsehoods, and it ferments this emotional levels that just so out of proportion, you know. So so like for getting back to the article thing, the issue with the article, it was I'm not gonna say which mainstream media company,
Yeah,
but
doesn't matter.
it's a headline like, oh, Trump, Trump signs this bill that causes that you know causes trans people to not get a hospital service, and the article is about the opinion of that bill, but not the bill itself. So I went out of my way to look at the documentation for the bill, and and time and again I was coming across these types of things. It had nothing to do with the bill. It was just the article was designed to get people angry. At least from my observation, reading the articles and then reading a portion of the bill, I was like, this is not news. This is not the way. This is not the way to inform people, because it's not informing people. And um, I feel like that's really what's causing people to get triggered. Like
Hmm.
I keep asking myself, why are people so angry at 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 Trump? Why? And
I don't know.
the only answer I ever get is he's racist, he's sexist, he's you know, I didn't vote for Trump. Okay, I voted for Jill Stein, and but the crazy thing is, I'm trying to understand, like, why before his election, during his election, and now, within the election period, it's like, or just during his time in office, you're like, why is it so, why has it bottled over so much? And I don't know, other than the example of the article, causing people to just go buck wild.
I mean, they I mean, I don't want to. I really don't feel like defending Trump because he is kind of an idiot. I really don't. So, and then this is the thing. Like, me and you are both very conservative in a lot of aspects, very liberal on a lot of social aspects. I think Trump's a complete idiot. I think there's things that he's done that have been very good, whether it's for me economically or for certain business aspects. I think there's been tweets and certain things that he very recently, how he's completely mismanaged some situations recently, especially just from a social aspect and what he should be doing at this point in time. And I'm sure everybody else agrees. You just got to understand that it's just because he's an idiot, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, like I also agree he's kind of an idiot sometimes. It's not the end of the world at all. So, and there's probably one, and I don't know if he's just riled it up. I don't know if it fades. I hope it sticks because it is very important. I feel like, just for me personally, the more people learn, I feel like the more people learn, the more people research, that I think there's a lot more people that are more conservative than they really realize
Mm.
that they are. They just have this kind of more stereotypical view that conservatives are one thing that they're not at all.
Mm.
So they immediately say, yeah, I'm Democrat, I'm liberal. Of course. That's good. That is, yes, good. That is where I go. And then the more they learn, they're like, you know what? I actually, I'm probably a lot more middle of the road than I thought I was. And I'm not just over here and, oh, I actually do kind of agree with these certain things, but certain other ones, and, maybe I don't sort of agree with. And I do listen to a bunch of conservatives. I also do check out a fair bit of liberal stuff as well. Leftists, I don't agree with leftists because my opinion, leftists, you're basically, if you're a leftist, you're basically, in my opinion, borderline, if not a neo-Marxist. In which case, well, we have different views because this is a capitalist country. So,
Yeah.
just fun. That's a fundamental opposite. I don't want anything bad to happen to you. I want you to continue on. I want you to speak up. I want you to say, and you know what? Maybe there'll be some ideas that come out that are great. I just don't ever want you to win. That's for sure. That's the that's the only thing. Yeah, so you listen to some of the other conservatives, and there are some, there's conservatives that are extremely far right. There's a ton of stuff over there that I don't necessarily agree with. Some of it's social. I don't know if I really want to go down some of the stuff right now, but even people that I love listening to recently, like we've talked about her already, Candace Owens. Like Candace Owens, I think, is extremely intelligent. She's extremely well spoken. She's done a ton. I think I agree with a lot of stuff that she says. I love her fire and her passion. She's not afraid to fight. I really, really respect that. I don't agree with everything that comes out of her mouth. There's certain social things that she has that I don't agree with her. It's in topics recently on her speaking about whatever. It's about certain transgender things, and she had a very strong no compromise on certain things, which I did agree with on some aspects, but we're not in lockstep with it. Because if it came down to it, I guess you should have opinion on everything. Is as long as this person is happy and they're being taken care of, and it's really not, infringing on my day-to-day life, I don't care. There's a lot bigger issues right now and in general that I don't have to, that I'm not really all over that one. But there's so many aspects that she comes up with that I really do see eye to eye on. Yeah, I don't know. Just been who I've been listening.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I think there's definitely I think the whole conservatives coming out in the open, is, I think it's becoming more prominent now, because if I were to count in my hand the number of people that kind of lean more middle or more conservative, there's probably a good 50%, 50% of people that I've spoke with, and again, it's like everything isn't just the same spectrum. It's just the there's certain qualities about a political view, the same thing with with me with Candace Owens. I don't I don't agree with everything that she says, but there's a lot of things that I agree with. And one of the things I think that stands out for me is she's very rational about topics that she likes, or topics that she talks about. It's not just, oh, I'm mad. I'm mad because,
No.
you know what I mean? She gives a reason, and then she at certain times will give solutions, but at, a good another person that I listen to is Jordan Peterson. He just, I don't know if you've heard some of his stuff, but he's just, that's a smart dude. That's a smart dude. He speaks not like a normal person. He's very eloquent in the way he speaks. So, but more conservative in his views, a little bit more hardlined about certain things. And it was one of the first times I heard, more hardline kind of conservative views, and it was like, wow, he'll make very compelling arguments, on conservative values, so, which essentially, there's a lot of emphasis on family. There's a lot of emphasis on, roles of males and females, those types of things.
Yeah, that's one of the big things, but obviously about your stronger, more very traditional, strong conservative is they are big on, let's be serious. You can't, they're very big on the traditional household. very, very big on the traditional household with more traditional male female roles. Kind of overall, right? If you
Yeah.
were being honest, if you're still a father, you get over. Which me personally, I don't think there's actually any. What's wrong with having that ideology? Never once most of them never once when they say it. And correct me if I'm wrong, Candace Owens is extremely pro-life, extremely more traditional, male, female, strong, working together ideology. And this is coming from an extremely strong, extremely independent, motivated, very highly, highly successful woman. So it's not because of this ideology of this type of nucleus is presented that anybody is being, and I don't think they always convey this well, because there's such a disagreement sometimes between both sides that they automatically, you're going to look at that and think that there's something wrong with it because you're looking for something, and they don't go out of their way to kind of clear it up. They're not saying that any party member is lesser or less than. All they're generally saying is that they are different. And just like in different aspects of life, when you have teams and everybody is equal on the team, not everybody on the team does the exact same thing, because that's not efficient. And that doesn't get you farther. If that makes sense.
No, it totally makes sense. It's along the same lines of the Miami Heat when they had LeBron James. They had who's the other guy? They had all the superstars.
Dwayne Wade came down.
Yeah, like a whole bunch of. I can't remember all the names of the players there, but
Bosh.
yeah. But if you look at it, they didn't win. Like you were everyone was anticipating that maybe they were gonna, take just mop the floor of the season and go to the playoffs and then just win the whole thing. But no, they didn't.
They couldn't find their roles. They didn't
Yeah.
know. They didn't know what they were doing. They're stepping on each other's toes a little bit.
And that's what it comes down to. It's like it's all right. It's all right to have roles in society. It's okay. It's okay to be a man. It's okay to be a woman. It's okay to be a cat, or you know what I mean. Like no one's saying those things are, well, some people are saying those things are wrong, but um why does some of that stuff have to be politicized? Why does that, to me, it's like, me personally, you know the the government doesn't need to be in the bedroom. The government doesn't need to be at my, you know dining table. You know what I
No.
mean? Like,
But they both sides do it to themselves a bit too, because they want to politicize it to get votes, to get people over on their side, and they do it to themselves. And I mean, I guess they get asked these questions, everything. I just want to circle back to my stuff when I was talking about Candace Owens, about her comments about the trend. I didn't get into it very much because, one, I don't feel like having that discussion right now. And then two, I don't want to misquote exactly how she was stated, and I don't have anything in front of me. And I don't want to misquote how she presented it or said it or anything. We'll just say that we were not in lockstep agreement, and I'll leave it at that. I wasn't beating around the bush. I didn't know what it was. I just didn't feel like talking about it, and I don't want to misquote her because that's not right. If I don't have the information right in front of me of how she said it and presented it, I'm not going to distribute it or repeat it, because that's not what you should do.
so we're coming to the hour here. So I think for me, it's really about, like, I want to learn. I want to learn the other perspectives. I want to have a healthy debate with someone that has a different view. Maybe they can convince me otherwise. I think some of these qualities and skills and critical thinking is just, it's just lost. There's a, people are just saying yes to stuff without thinking about it. And you know, I might not be an expert at everything, but I like to think that I'm curious, and we should continue to try to strive to be able to learn more about other people, learn more about their views, and I think one of the things that's very problematic right now is the ability to be able to express how we feel, and having that be suppressed. That's not freedom. You know, that's control over somebody else. That's control over um, our liberty. And I think those types of things need to be addressed even more. And I I, I commend you for wanting to talk about this topic, Cruz, because it is not easy for conservatives to do that. Just like we were describing earlier. I sent out the bunch of emails and they all got blocked. You know,
Yeah, we'll say it was a glitch in the system for now, but
yeah, we'll say it's a glitch in the system. But do you have any closing remarks? Um,
yeah. So I mean, all in all, so like obviously, I'm leaving a while. One of my big things I haven't been doing since kind of the lockup and everything is I haven't been reading nearly as much. Generally, when I was the ice maker, that was loud. Generally, when I'm reading a lot more just for pleasure. You know, whimsical books. Generally, just reading for pleasure. But as I start to do a bit of traveling, I'll be on my own a bit more, away from a lot of structure, so I'll have a lot more of kind of downtime, so to speak. Not, or at least just being out of the comfort zone. I want to really make sure I'm focusing on reading a lot, which is going to be along these lines of topics in general. I really just want to broaden my knowledge historically, current events, everything. Just really want to do a lot more learning in that area. And I think it's going to be a great opportunity to kind of do that.
yeah. Well, I think the combination of experiencing the different areas, being out for a long time, is going to give more than just that opportunity. So you got the combination of reading more and being out there in the world. So that's all we got. Um, thank you guys for attending. Tune in next week. Cruz will be in a different area, so we're gonna have to figure out how we produce this. I mean, it's gonna be the same type of thing, except now he's gonna be
Bill Fa,
in the Midwest. So um,
like phone. I have to find a safe space because if I start talking and saying stuff too loud, people around may not like me. We'll see.
see again, it's like this weird suppression thing, this social pressure thing that because if we start declaring what our perspectives are, all of a sudden it's like we're bad guys. Like, how do we know? Here's and I'll leave it at this, at least for me. How do we know that? Okay, say it's assumed that the liberal ideal is the right way, is the good guy. How do we know that they're the good guy? We could be the good guy. Everyone's the good guy. I think I think the whole conservative thing is being billed as the bad guy.
I think everybody on both sides, excluding, and I don't care, I'll say excluding the extreme radicals on both sides, I think everybody is the good guy.
Yeah.
Both sides. I think everybody generally comes from a place of wanting to do good, wanting to make things better. It just so happens that our side is the racist, bigot, terrible human being side. And I don't know how we got there.
Yeah.
And on that note, I think next week next week we're probably going to go over, it's a very interesting topic, but I want to look into some of the facts, dates, and everything. But I'd like to discuss the historical shift of the Democratic Party starting in the early 1960s.
What do you mean a democratic shift?
The shift of the Democratic Party starting in the 1960s, post the Civil Rights Movement.
So
And if you're familiar with it, you'll know the shift of the Democratic Party after that.
are you talking about the Lyndon B. Johnson stuff?
Yeah.
That'll get a little touchy. That'll get a little touchy.
I mean, I just want to go over the facts. It was some stuff that I've been looking at, saying, I don't know how the exact ins and outs of it at all. Um, but it's very interesting. It's a very interesting topic, um, of how things shifted, how they got to where they are now so quickly. I mean, there's certain members of the party that were almost in there at that time, because you have, lifelong career politicians that have been there. So just very, yeah, we're probably gonna talk about that next week.
All right. Well, tune in next week, guys. It's more controversy, but it's always a good discussion to get this stuff out there and get a feel for good just good overall dialogue. Like I think it's healthy for everybody. So thank you guys very much. Tune in next week, same time. He's gonna be at a different time zone. He's gonna be in Mountain Time. But hope you guys come along for the journey and see what it's like. And keep in mind too, we got stuff going throughout the week. So